webinar. We're so grateful that you've chosen to tune in live or to watch our recording. It's on a very timely topic. We're going to focus in on the AI shift. And I'm joined by my friend, my partner, Andy Lynch. And Andy, so great to have you on with us during this webinar. So before we jump into today's content, just a quick overview of both of us and what we do with our companies. So my company is Enrollment Catalyst. I come alongside schools to help them by assessing their enrollment and marketing processes and strategies, putting a plan in place, also provide surveys and secret shopper experiences and other types of consulting opportunities. And Andy, tell us a little bit about Tassel.
Hey folks, I'm Andy Lynch. Thanks for tuning in. I'm the president and CEO of Tassel, enrollment marketing firm. And we help schools a variety of ways. It could be a branding initiative, everything from a rename to a brand refresh or brand standards. We do a lot of website development for schools. AI SEO, that's a blend of artificial intelligence optimization as well as search engine optimization, and related to that, an AI readiness assessment to understand internally and externally how effectively you're using AI. Paid search, paid social management to rev up that lead generation engine. Agent stage messaging is a signature solution for us, so articulating your value proposition by audience segment. And then the Right Fit Family Rubric, developing that framework for projecting a family's likelihood to succeed in your culture and in your educational model. We've got an action-packed hour ahead of us here, a little bit of housekeeping as we jump in. I mean, first of all, if you're here for the dad joke, some of you might know us from our alter egos, the Enrollment Marketing Geeks. If you're here for the dad jokes, you're going to be disappointed because we're not telling any dad jokes. I could also bet that if you tune in for our Enrollment Marketing Geeks, you'll probably still be disappointed because the jokes aren't that great. This is a conversation based on what Rick and I are seeing in the marketplace from our vantage points when it comes to AI. So rather than doing this as a show and tell show through the Enrollment Marketing Geeks, we have on our Tassel and Enrollment Catalyst hats respectively here. And we just wanted to share with you, what are we seeing through the work that we do day after day with schools as it comes to applied AI? It's a fascinating topic, and we just see schools are all over the place. So we wanted to have a conversation about this. Of course, there are a wide range of perspectives on the utility of AI, as well as adoption rates among schools. In this conversation, we're going to be zooming out and zooming in. So you'll hear some macro and some micro. There is a question bar there in the side. If you have a question, please drop it in. We'll do our best to get through as many of those as possible. If we don't get to it here, we commit to following up with you directly by email after this conversation. And finally, you'll have access to the recording, and we will give you a link to this deck when we finish. So off we go. Rick, run through the agenda here. What are we going to cover today?
We have an action-packed hour together. In fact, overwhelming response, over 500 people registered for this webinar, so incredible interest. And so we're going to cover these 6 areas that you see here on the screen. Understanding the organizational alignment, how the ground is shifting, how families actually go through the search process, how your team can work by using AI. What's next? Seeing around the corner, and how can we help you in this process?
Very good. So let's dive in. Organizational alignment. This is a fascinating topic for us, and based on what we've seen in the marketplace, this is part of a talk that I gave a couple weeks ago at the CISA conference in Charlotte. And I asked a couple questions here. We think about organizational alignment when it comes to AI. The first question is, where are you in terms of your AI adoption? So you have ostensibly oblivious. Those are the people who probably aren't even on this call. Like, AI, how do you spell AI? They're probably not here. But I do know that on this call,
that's a good dad joke, actually, Andy.
Thank you. Thanks, Dad. So I do know that on this call, we likely have a representation of the other categories. The negative naysayers, like, nope, not for me, I'm not going to touch it. Optimistic observers, I want this to work, I'm just going to sit it out until I see it and have confidence in it. the digital dabblers. You've built up some courage here, and you are clicking around in AI. You're just sort of got your toes in the water here. Others are ready but restricted. We've had this conversation with multiple teams. Like, yeah, we want to use this. It's just our leadership or our IT is just being pretty coy about giving us the latitude we need to use AI. And then the all-in adopters. And I want to be clear, when I say all-in adopters, I don't mean like you are on the bleeding edge of AI, but you have an optimism. You are using these things on the regular, and you see value in the tool, or in this range of tools and this possibility. So we're going to try something here. I'm going to see if I can turn on a poll here for us. So let's do this. Launching this poll. Where are you? Oh, it must be working. Love it. Here we go. Looking good. Keep going. We're gonna do this fast, so you've got another 5 seconds to click on where you are, and we are gonna move quick. 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see. End and share results. Sharing is paused. Let's see. Are you seeing that, Rick?
I'm seeing the end of the poll. You need to close the poll.
Close the poll.
Oh, no, it's gone now. So, but basically what we saw is that digital dabblers led the way. And that's what I would have predicted with this poll of where everybody would be in their use of
46% digital dabblers, followed by all-in adopters, 22%, followed by optimistic observers at 18%. So great. So following on the heels of that, where are you? The next question is, where is your school? So the same thing here. Where is your school? As a whole, and what we mean by this is, where is your leadership on this question? Where are your division leads, your faculty and staff, your team? So as a whole, what's the shared mindset here? And we're going to quickly run through that poll as well. I'm launching the poll. Your school as a whole. Thank you. I see those votes coming in. 10 seconds.
A lot of dabblers again.
Yeah. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, -1, -2. Okay, good. Once again, we see digital dabblers. 51% are digital dabblers. We've got optimistic observers at 23%. 5% are negative naysayers. I think that's interesting. And only 10% are all-in adopters. So, okay, interesting. Let's drive on. And what I want you to see here is this concept of personal and organizational alignment. And if you put those results through this simple 2x2 grid, so on the left side, your adoption, and on the top, your school's adoption. So if your school adoption is low and your adoption is low, there's going to be pervasive skepticism. You're going to be ignoring AI and just falling behind in this conversation. If your adoption is low and your school's adoption is high, how are you going to be feeling? Probably uneasy and pressured to get with the program. And what are you going to be doing? You're going to be hiding and smoke screening. Like, oh, I'm just going to try to find every way I can to sidestep this conversation and let everybody else have it. What if your adoption is high, but your school's adoption is low? I see a lot in this quadrant. You're going to be feeling eager but frustrated. It's like, the potential of this stuff, I don't understand why we're not using it. So what are you doing? You're lobbying for access to these tools, and you're probably going rogue. You're using it anyway, just in your personal account. What Rick and I love to see is where school adoption is high and your adoption is high. There's this sense of shared optimism, this learning, this innovating. It doesn't mean you've got it all figured out or everybody's using it effectively, but the attitude, the prevailing mindset is, this is a good thing, and we need to figure out how to leverage it before we get left behind. So Rick, as you look at this table, anything come to mind here?
Yeah, I think it's just great to be able to think about where you might fit on this table along with your school team. And it'd be wonderful to have a discussion with your leadership team about this, because it's important to have that organizational alignment with where you're moving forward. So important.
And it's important because why? The ground is shifting. Walk us through this next section here.
Exactly. And that's what we're seeing. We're going through a major shift here. And Andy and I were doing some reminiscing back to, what's happened over the last couple decades. And I think this shift that we're experiencing with AI is even more significant, and it has a lot of implications on marketing. And we've actually seen some of these shifts before. I don't know if you remember back to AOL back in 1991 when they were, basically introducing the internet by sending out those CDs, and you could access so many hours on the internet. And remember, you've got
Crazy.
mail. Yeah, that was like the
Incredible.
launch of everybody's access to the internet. Now, I know some of you out there probably have no idea what we're talking about. So you're in a different generation. So, but Andy and I certainly experienced that. And then we saw the next shift, pretty significant, to social media. Why don't you highlight social media and what we saw there, Andy?
Yeah, so if back in the early 90s it was mass access to the internet, with the rise of MySpace preceded Facebook, but in particular Facebook really launched the social revolution, where there was a massive access just to the social aspect of the internet. It wasn't just business, but there were personal profiles, and people's access to other people's lives just skyrocketed.
Yeah.
And right on the heels of that, there was another game-changing invention from Apple. Rick?
Yeah, these little tools right here that we carry around with us everywhere. I mean, that opened up access, from a desktop on the internet to now in the palm of our hands, where we could
Yeah.
do our Google searches, we could, go to social media channels and interact. We can take selfies. I mean, the selfie craze really started with, a tool like this. And
For
so
better or
everything
worse.
everything exploded. You think about the apps, you think about new markets, the way that we communicate, text messaging, everything is right in the palm of your hands. And so that has created significant shifts, especially with social media and the use of mobile devices for what we're doing with marketing to reach parents, in our world today. So, and now we're in 2025, but 3 years before this date, we saw the launch of AI. And so tell us a little bit about ChatGPT and some of the history there.
Yeah, you think about November of 2022 was when ChatGPT launched, and that each one of these major events has a connection to data that's available now to the masses, data and functionality. And when ChatGPT launched, AI, which actually had been around for 50 years. It was back in the 70s when that term was really began to get popularized, dating actually all the way back to 1956 when the term artificial intelligence was coined. So the concept's been with us for quite some time, but it wasn't until ChatGPT that it really became available to the masses, and it became recognized for the game-changing experience that it is turning out to be. Let's go a little deeper into this. I mean, this is a company that's today valued, after a most recent funding round at $5 billion, or essentially one Elon Musk, or 500 billion rather. So what was it that made ChatGPT such a profound inflection point? First, it took big tech by surprise. I mean, why wasn't Google leading this? Why wasn't Apple leading this? And it became the tail that wagged the dog by making AI accessible and practical. So your access to AI was probably pretty limited until some sort of window like ChatGPT came along. And it's changing consumer behavior. We're going to talk a little bit more about that and what ways it's changing consumer behavior. It has challenged Google's search dominance and core business model. Google has seen changes in terms of its revenue flowing through those paid search channels. It has sparked an AI arms race. All the major tech, many startups have latched on to AI. ChatGPT has nearly 800 million weekly users, which is meteoric in terms of growth. Who are the major players? You'll see them on screen here. Most of these you've likely heard of course, with ChatGPT far and away being the front runner in terms of consumer usage. I would say Microsoft Copilot is the largest player among enterprise. Perplexity, Google's Gemini, Meta, with their wearables, their Ray-Ban glasses, etc. Grok, which is Elon Musk's X, AI, and then Claude's Opus model. Rick, you have some stats here from the 2025 AI Marketing Industry Report. Let's run through these here.
Yeah, this was actually just released, and it's based upon 730 marketing personnel all around the world who responded to the survey that was put on by the Social Media Examiner. And so let's look at one of the questions I pulled out. How often do marketers use AI tools? And this is, think about it, this is marketers with big business, small business, nonprofits. It's not just the educational space that we're talking about today, but gives you that global perspective. A significant 60% of marketers use AI each day now, which is up from 37% last year. So we're seeing that increase. Where do you fall in that category? The second one, how has the use of AI changed for marketers in the last year? Well, obviously, it's increased. 84% are basically saying that it has changed and they're using it more. Just a small slice where it stayed the same. And then the third stat we want to highlight here, what are the most commonly used AI platforms? And certainly ChatGPT stands out, around 80, 85%, or actually 90% there. I should read that correctly. And that's the one we're probably most familiar with. And that's where I would recommend is a great starting point as you think about using AI in your world.
Yeah. And as we think about how the ground is shifting, I know in a lot of sectors, there's concern about what is this going to mean for my job? Is AI coming for my job? And just within the last week, Amazon has announced massive layoffs due to AI in mid-management. Others, Accenture, the consulting firms, laid off tens of thousands of people around AI upskilling. So perhaps some of you are wondering, like, should I be concerned about AI replacing me in my job? And the short answer is no. I don't think AI is going to replace you in your job, but you may be replaced by someone who is bringing that AI skill set if you choose not to. That's where a lot of these layoffs are coming, or these changes in personnel is people like, thanks, but no thanks. I'm not gonna play. So with that said, Rick, let's have some conversation about this. The ground is shifting here. What indicators suggest that AI boom is more than just a passing fad from your perspective?
I think one of the big ones is just a major investment that we're seeing. I mean, it's everywhere. There's a lot of dollars that are being put into AI tools, AI, programs. It's really dominating our world, and it's integrated into everything that we're seeing. I mean, you can't really use a tool today without seeing some type of AI element built into it, and so it's dominating. And I think it's also one of the key things of why it's not a passing fad is that what we're seeing is that it's increasing the effectiveness of what humans are able to do. It's making work more efficient, and it's taking maybe hours out of a project and condensing it down to minutes or an hour, whatever the project is. So if used correctly, it can really help you boost your performance with your effectiveness and efficiency. So I don't see it as a passing fad. I see it as a seismic shift here.
Sure.
It's very much like what we saw earlier with the dawn of the internet, social media, smartphones, but I think it's even more significant.
Yeah, all those things have come together to make this moment possible. For me, what convinces me this is more than just a passing fad, I say follow the money. NVIDIA, now the most valuable company on the planet, valued at $5 trillion, and that's tied to computer chips, processor chips for the purpose of running AI. You look at where the investment is in the energy sector, because AI takes a tremendous amount of energy. It's in the data storage facilities and the data centers that are being built, and investment banks and private equity are pouring tons and tons of capital into this because they believe this is where the money is going in the future. So with that said, it's not going away. You can't just opt out of this. It's coming. So let's talk about how this is impacting how families search. For me, there was this aha moment with AI in late 2022 when it occurred to me like, oh my goodness, this is going to change the game. And the moment for me, my first interaction with AI was actually image generation. When a friend of mine showed me like, hey, uh, create a photo of like cowboys around a campfire, and I was blown away just what that voice prompt was able to conjure up. Well, a few weeks later, I was going to make some chicken wings in the air fryer. I love chicken wings. And if you've ever looked up a recipe on Google, you've probably had this experience. Give me air fryer chicken, crispy chicken wings for the Super Bowl. 165 million results. How many recipes do I need? One. So if I click through this first one, like this very first listing, it takes me to a page that apparently was written by a lady who looks like she's never eaten a chicken wing in her life. You get her whole life story. You get the backstory on the history of chicken wings. Then you get the ingredients. You think, oh, I'm there. You're not there. You have to jump down to the recipe. There were 164 potential clicks on that landing page. By the way, a little bit of trivia. Do you have any idea how many chicken wings Americans consume on the Super Bowl Sunday? 1.4 billion with a B. So it's a hot topic. There's a lot of traffic around this. And I'm thinking, you know what? I don't need 165 million clicks. I just want one recipe. So I went to ChatGPT, and within a matter of seconds, I had everything I needed without reading anybody's life story or being advertised to. And in that moment, two things happened. I got a great recipe for air fryer chicken wings. And it also occurred to me, oh my goodness, this is going to do something to Google's search dominance. Why is that? Rick, tell us
Yeah,
about the answer.
yeah, exactly. Because what we've been using Google and searches for are basically generating list of options,
Options.
yeah, options. And, it's like when parents go in and they type in private schools near me and they get a list of options based in their area. There's no answer to what they're seeking. It's basically a list of links. There's no analysis that's given there. So now what's happening is we're moving to use AI to actually get the answers. So
Yeah,
that's what this is
that's right.
about.
So
So as
keep
we
going.
look,
Talk to us about AI dynamics in the family journey.
yeah, so as we look at this in terms of the family journey, I think it's important for what the parents are seeing in their search and how they're using it. I've just begun to incorporate some AI questions into surveys that I conduct for schools, and I pulled out this response from a new parent survey for an international school that I just conducted. So I asked this question: did you use AI in your school search process? You see how many responded yes. So roughly, no, not roughly, but 20% of the respondents said they had used AI. And I'm seeing it different in other schools. It kind of depends upon where you're at. But I think you should be measuring this, because what we're going to see is this is going to increase because it's going to
Yeah,
be more of the norm. Instead of going to just Google and looking for a list, we're going to be using AI platforms to be able to ask the questions that we're searching for.
yeah, yeah. So this kind of reminds me, this stat reminds me of the early days of mobile
Mm.
when folks on the call, is your school's website mobile friendly? Well, of course it is. Was there a time when it was not? Probably. If you existed in that era, there was a conversion process. And I remember back in those days, we were telling folks, watch your stats, watch your Google Analytics at the percentage of traffic that's starting to go to your website through mobile devices. And we just can't imagine that not being the case now. For many of you, your traffic to your website's probably greater on mobile than it is on laptop, desktop. I think the same thing's going to happen with this trend on screen. Why is that? Well, like electricity, people follow the path of least resistance. If I feel like I'm getting better answers, better information through AI, I'm not going to do the old fashioned search. With that said, I think it's also worth noting Google picked up on this pretty quickly. Some of you may not have realized this, but in your magic search bar on Google, you look over to the right, you're going to see AI mode. And this AI mode, if you click on it, is Google's answer to keeping you from going to ChatGPT. They want to give you that chat experience right through the browser. Rick, you've got some other illustrations here where you from a recent engagement, have helped schools understand what's happening in terms of AI visibility. Walk us through these here.
Yeah, I'm now including this in my analysis as I work with a school. And this is for Kingsbridge Christian in Alpharetta, Georgia. It's just demonstrating how a search using AI mode might appear. Private schools in Alpharetta, I wanted to make sure that their school was appearing. And then you see how it's giving an AI overview and
Yeah,
even giving a ranking. So it's doing more than just listing. It's actually giving me some insight, some answers. And here's another example where I put in the question, what are the best Christian schools in the northern Atlanta area? And so
yeah,
again, it's making, in a sense, a judgment call based upon what it knows out there and pulling that together for me to give direction. I went through an example here of how a parent might use ChatGPT in their search process. So, I'm accessing ChatGPT. Good morning. I'm searching for Christian and private schools in the Northern Atlanta metro area. Can you provide an overview of those schools?
yeah,
Addresses me by name, and it gives me what's on the next slide. Basically, this comprehensive table showing me all the different schools in the area. And notice it's not just a list, it's actually a comparative table highlighting some notes and strengths and even potential challenges. So
incredible.
immediately I have this resource, and then I wanted to probe further. I wanted to say in my search, let's narrow the search to the Alpharetta area. Let's zero in because I knew that school is there. What schools would you recommend? And it actually gave me some recommendations based upon answers of what stands out or things to
Yeah.
check out, potential limitations. So I was doing additional comparison with those answers. Pretty incredible. So this again is what a parent is getting. They may not even be going to your website to look at this information. And giving direction and advice. Actually, if ChatGPT were the one advising a family, this is the direction that it would give to that
Yeah.
family looking for that school in Alpharetta, Georgia. And keep going, Andy. Next slide here. I want to step further. How do the reviews look for these schools? I don't want to go to all the review sites. ChatGPT can do that for me and pull it all in. So it gives me the highlights of what people like, even what some of the scores are on a particular site like niche, and then concerns and issues. And then you can ask ChatGPT how you could even go about improving the way that you're appearing in the answers that are being provided. So that's just a real quick sketch of how a parent might use ChatGPT in this process.
Yeah, so it's what they're seeing in search and how they're able to search, where they're going to vet schools and get answers. So it's not exclusively to Google anymore. It's not just the social channels. There's also this illusion of vetted content. So if it shows up, I am putting more and more trust into what this AI platform is telling me. They're likely to have a high degree of trust and belief in the information that's conveyed. And that's a double-edged sword, folks. We're going to talk about the implications of that here, but I think you can imagine what some of those might be. Their experience engaging with your website and follow-up process. So AI is playing a factor in that as well. How is AI used on your website and the degree to which you're hyper-personalizing that follow-up process? And then their use of AI engaging with you. So as they navigate your admissions process, I know some of you have said, yeah, we're starting to see families who are having AI fill out their application
Hmm.
or figuring out how to be coached by AI before they come in for that parent interview. This is one reason why I encourage our clients to ask the same question in different contexts. Well, we asked that on the application. Well, how do you know that they didn't use AI to fill that piece out? So when you're in person with them, revisit some of those questions. Another area where I would encourage you all to take a look, and both Rick and I are strong advocates for the Halda platform. If you're not familiar with Halda, it is an AI-powered window that it pops up on the homepage of your website after a few seconds, and it uses AI to increase the traffic conversion by understanding what's interesting, important, giving them an opportunity to ask questions through that magic search bar. Yes, I see some of you clapping for that. I'm going to briefly point to that on the First Academy's website, the First Academy in Orlando, who Rick and I both worked with. This is what HALDA looks like. What are you interested in? Here's my primary driver. We're interested in academic rigor. Let's say I've got going into 3rd grade and 7th grade next. Great. What school year are you considering, etc. And yes, I want that parent guide from Tassel. Any additional questions, enter those here. And then it says, tell us a bit more about you. And even if they navigate off and they don't give you their contact information, it will remember who they are when they come back, and enable them to pick up on that. Rick and I have by and large seen an increase in conversions and website traffic here. I'm not going to take much longer on this, but Rick, as I navigate back, anything else you want to say regarding HALDA?
Yeah, to me, it's like a no-brainer type of marketing allocation out of your budget, because it's going to engage with that parent when they land on your website and generate the lead, which is what it's all about. What school doesn't want more leads in their admissions process?
And HALDA is activating voice and chat messages as well through HALDA this year. So I encourage you to check that out. So how can schools adapt to emerging AI dynamics in the family journey? Rick, let me put this question to you.
Yeah, so you might be wondering, like with all this shift to AI, should we pull back on paid search and paid social ads? And the answer is no. You really need visibility in all these channels. Now, down the road, things are going to change, but right now, in terms of how things are working, we need to make sure we have a presence in all these areas, and be on the lookout, because inevitably there's going to be some type of advertising inside of these AI platforms. So, right?
That's right.
They have to monetize this in some way, right?
Yeah, for sure. Of course, SEO is still important. The things you do for SEO will help you with AI. At Tassel, we have a mantra about that pertains to AI SEO, and that's make FAQs cool again. So contextual FAQs are incredibly important on your website for AI to understand what's important, and not just to have them, but also the schema, markup, the programming behind them that essentially acts as directional signage to the bots, to the crawlers, to say, hey, prioritize this response. I think there's a lot of value at going to these AI platforms and just querying yourself and see if you're okay with the answers that you get, and developing a plan to go fix those things so you do like the results that you're going to be getting. And lastly here, I would just encourage you to record conversations with prospective families so you can have that transcript. Rick, I know that you use a device when you're on site with consulting engagements. Tell us about that.
Yeah, this is called Plod, and what it does is it will record any of my meetings, and then it'll upload it to my iPhone and create a transcript of that basically immediately for me. So I could go back and I could search through it. I could look at meeting summaries. I could get this, this detailed summary of what just took place in that particular meeting. So it's a great tool to be able to use. And if you invite me to come to your school, I'll bring it with me.
And I mean, the implications of that, you let them know you're going to be recording it.
Exactly.
I know more and more of these families are going to be bringing wearables, like whether it's a wristband or a pendant or something like that. So they're recording it, or in their glasses, their AI glasses. But if you have that recording, you can run that transcript through ChatGPT or some other platform and say, help me put together a follow-up plan based on that, or what were who might I need to connect them with?
Right.
So let's talk about how teamwork.
Can I ask you just a quick question on this? In terms of what we're seeing here, as you look at how schools can adapt, would you say that it's even more important to focus in on content today on the website? You mentioned FAQs.
Yeah. So in the age of SEO, you all have heard the old adage, content is king. I think in the age of AI, content is massive, but in the age of AI, context, not just content, context is king. And what do I mean by that? You'll have lots of information about your school, and especially if you have an older website where you haven't gone through and culled out outdated information, don't be surprised if AI is hallucinating. Well, where is it getting that? I mean, it's garbage in, garbage out. So we're going to talk about this here in a few minutes, but this concept of sources of truth. What are your school's sources of truth? What are those foundational statements, documents, those repositories of information where you're like, yeah, this describes who we are. This describes our academic program. This is our philosophy of education, mission, vision, core values, right fit family rubric, our messaging by ages. These are your sources of truth. And they create context for AI to better understand your organization, because you can have tons and tons of content. But if it's going through the junk drawer of your website trying to find something that this looks relevant, it really wants to give that user some sort of answer. So, context is massive. So as you are organizing your content strategy, I think it's really helpful to prioritize based on what you want AI to represent. So great question. Which gets into how teams work. The next part of our agenda here, how teams work. And we see AI as really a force multiplier. At this point, I don't see it as a one-to-one replacement for that director of marketing, that director of admissions, those admissions associates, your communications person. But all of you could leverage AI as a force multiplier. I posted this to LinkedIn a few days ago. I've collected a handful of descriptions. I've heard AI described in multiple ways. Here are a few of my faves. It's an intern with superpowers, a really eager but poorly onboarded employee, a cheat code that adds 40 to 50 points to your IQ, which I know I could use, and then a senior level research analyst, an expert advisor. It's all of these things and more. But my sense is some of you are just using it like that intern that with sort of, moderate superpowers. So let's talk about applying AI in your role. And Rick, I think it's less about the tool and it's more about the mindset.
Yeah, it really takes us right now to have this optimistic mindset toward AI, because it has the potential to really help us. The reality, it's not the enemy. Complacency is. If you do nothing, and if you don't engage with it, that's where you have opportunity lost. Think about when social media came on board. There were people who were skeptical about it, and they were like, I'm not going to go on social media. I'm not going to learn it. They were behind in the marketing world. Could you hire a director of marketing who doesn't know anything about social media? No. The same is true with where we're headed with AI. Can you hire a director of marketing who doesn't know how to use AI? Same with director of admissions, even a head of school. These are people, leaders that really need to understand now and in the future how AI can be used. So don't fall behind. You need to embrace this shift overall with AI.
And one of the most practical ways to do that is commit to what we call the daily driver. You need to choose an AI platform. I think it's fine to have multiple accounts. And in some cases, I'll take a question and pop it into different AI platforms to see if it helps me think differently about a thing. But over time, your AI platform develops memory. It develops context. And if you're just switching around between platforms, or if you have free versions where you're not getting the full depth of that functionality for that AI platform, your daily driver is just not going to be as effective. I know most of you are in ChatGPT, so you probably have not worked through the functionality of ChatGPT. I would encourage you to click on some of these buttons. Don't always just go to that magic window. So for example, you might be thinking like, which model do I use? Well, ChatGPT 5 isn't necessarily a model, it's a model selector. It's going to choose the one that it thinks will best solve the request that you put into the bar. So for most of you, I would encourage you stick with GPT-5 and let it auto select. We think about the different modes. So when you hit that little plus menu, there are a lot of cool functions below that. Like, have you ever done anything with deep research? ChatGPT, if you give it a research task, will take 5 to 10 minutes, maybe longer, based on the complexity of the research project. And it will put together an amazingly thorough summary where it is thinking deeply on your behalf and researching that topic. You can configure it by connecting different platforms like your inbox or your drive, things of that nature. Another one that we've worked on with Rudy Gesh, our director of marketing, who's also the director of marketing at Sheboygan Christian School. we co-developed what we call the SCS World Voice. This is the brand tone, the voice, tone, and style engine for Sheboygan Christian, and he uses this for everything from social media marketing to announcing parking lot closures. And it ensures that the voice, tone, and style stays on brand. This is a rudimentary one that you can do through a GPT. We're currently working on a more robust voice, tone, and style standards guide that would allow you to say things within projects. I know, Rick, you've done some work within GPTs as well.
Yeah, I've been working to coach schools on how to implement AI in their world. So as I'm piloting this program, providing training, develop some custom GPTs, like you're seeing a brand bot, probably similar to what you just developed with your brand voice for Sheboygan Christian. This is Westminster Catawba Christian School. Another example, one that I just built, an admissions lead nurture email builder. I actually just walked through this with a school where they were questioning about how to develop a lead nurturing sequence of emails. And so I built this tool, and within really 30 minutes of interacting with it, I produced through ChatGPT 7 polished emails that they can use in their follow-up sequence for admissions. That would have taken hours to write. And so there's a lot that goes in behind this, the training and the instructions. Here's one for creating blogs. So all these are private. You can't go and access these anywhere. You could develop your own or potentially, work with us or work with someone else to be able to develop these on ChatGPT. But, what it's going to do is it's going to help you increase the effectiveness of your work, to exponentially produce more, to give you a starting point to be able to work from a draft, and it's just incredible. Tell us a little bit about projects.
Yeah, and as you're doing that, rather than having these disaggregated chat threads in your sidebar, it was tremendously liberating when ChatGPT rolled out the concept of projects. And I think most of the platforms have some version of this, but I'll just give you a peek. I did a screen grab. It was Rick and I are planning for our Enrollment Marketing Geek stuff, which, by the way, we've got a really exciting year coming up, some things to announce soon about our plans for 2026.
Do you want to give them like a little snippet of what might be ahead with AI?
Yeah, we're looking at an in-person event. So stay tuned for that. Hands-on in-person with the geeks. Be a lot of fun. Thank you for those claps, Jody. But this is an example into one of my project folders for Enrollment Marketing Geeks, where I'm working on a number of concepts and threads that I don't want them just getting mixed in with a bunch of other stuff like my chicken wing recipe. Enabled connectors, so you can connect ChatGPT to your Gmail, Google Calendar, Drive, Box, Dropbox, to Canva, variety of tools there. We think about applying AI in your role. Rick, there's a question that we encourage folks to keep close at hand.
Yeah, just asking the question, what are you doing that AI could actually help you? Maybe you're doing something every day, like you're writing emails every day. Why not build and use something within ChatGPT to help you write those emails? That's an example. Maybe you're analyzing survey responses. That can help with your task. What is it that you're doing all the time that you need additional help with?
Yeah, and that's where I think there's this misconception about, I've got to make all this time to go learn these things. If you commit to a daily driver and you ask the question, this task that is next on my list for today, this meeting that I have coming up next, how might AI help me with this task or better prepare for that meeting or follow up on that meeting? So you just see how it fits into your daily rhythms. Another area that's evolving rapidly is AI-enabled browsers. All browsers, I think, are going to be increasingly AI-enabled, but Perplexity launched theirs a few weeks ago. Atlas from ChatGPT was released, I think, within the last week or two. And I pulled up Rick's site, the enrollmentcatalyst.com website. I opened that AI assistant in Atlas and said, hey, tell me about the Parent Ambassador Program referencing this website. And I would encourage you to try that out. Download the Atlas browser and go check that out. Try that exercise so you can begin to see what's possible. There is a security risk I would mention here. just be careful. A lot of these browsers want you to do things where it can take actions on your behalf, more agentic. I'm not quite comfortable with that yet, especially when it's like, oh, go ahead and book that flight for me using my credit card. Like, timeout, we're not there yet. Other everyday tools, I've used Grammarly for a long time, and since January 26th of 2020. And you can see on screen here, I get a report every week. Since then, Grammarly has reviewed over 27 million words for me that I've either written or published in some way. And it's using AI to help. It's learning my writing, and it helps me write faster and better. By the way, just yesterday, Grammarly announced that it is changing its name and increasing its capabilities. So as of yesterday, October 29, they just announced Grammarly will be called Superhuman. So if you're a Grammarly user, stay tuned for that. Some of you are Canva users. Rick and I have Canva configured for our Enrollment Marketing Geeks brand things. But Canva has some natural language AI prompts. If you understand our style guide, I can have you create the social post, this one pager using AI, just a natural text prompt inside of Canva, and we'll make a first draft, which you can then edit. It's pretty amazing. A few years ago, Rick and I were visiting with our friends at Mount Perrin. And on that tour, there's this one part, you come around this corner, you go down these steps, turn, like, oh my goodness, what an amazing mural. And it was really cool hearing the ladies of Mount Perrin talk about how when they're giving a tour, a kid just knows to go stand between those wings, and a parent just knows this is where I take a picture of my kid. We were kind of in a hurry, and it didn't occur to me at the time, like, I should go move those cones and move that soap dispenser or that hand sanitizer dispenser. So, it's 3 years later, I just popped this in the ChatGPT and said, hey, can you remove those cones? No problem. And while you're at it, the hand sanitizer, I would have had to send that to one of our designers before, because I'm nothing with Photoshop, but now just a natural language prompt. Here's another one at the Woodlands Christian Academy in the Woodlands, Texas. We helped them develop their model for educating a child. It's called the 6 Pursuits. And this graphic is in one of their admissions offices there. Again, in a hurry, going through, took a picture. Well, there's a water bottle and a bag on the table. No problem, removed. Let's say that you've got a kid and the picture is like, oh, I don't have a photo release for that kid. Hey, change that kid's face. Pretty wild. This is one that blows my mind as well. So video capabilities. I could take a still image like this girl, and I could say, let's create a short form clip using that image. So this is from a still. Ran it through an AI video prompt, and that's running pretty choppy here in GoToWebinar. But all of that came from that one still. It's pretty wild. Applying AI in your role, again, a lot of this, occasionally we'll hear like, oh, AI is just not giving me what I want. Well, it's probably because you haven't prompted it well. Talk to us about the importance of prompting, Rick.
Yeah, this is probably where you're dabbling. You're just entering in a simple, instruction. I like the social media post on, and that's it. But you actually need to go through a process. In a way, the more information, the greater context you can give in your prompting, the better your results. In fact, Andy, one of the frameworks that you talk about is PACES. Tell us a little bit about how this works.
Yeah, I mean, straightforward persona, that's the role or voice, the action, what's the task that you want it to do, the context, so audience, settings and goals, expectation around format, length and style, and then specifics, give it details, essentials, etc. There's some questions that came in the sidebar, like how do we keep it from goofing up? A great prompt. So in the deck, we've given you an example of how to use PACES, let's say for an open house for kindergarten. So there's an example that you can reference here. And then we think about, Rick, you have an example here, a prompt framework for better results as opposed to just, a one-line saying, give me this.
Just an example in my coaching with Westminster Catawba Christian, wrote out this long prompt focusing on a framework. And then as you see in the next screen, What I was asking it to do is to take a Q&A section of an individual family on the website and turn it into a story, an article, and also a social media post. And it did that immediately. And the better results that we were able to receive in this process was due to spending more time on the prompt. So a simple prompt is going to get mediocre results. That's where you need to, as you say, go through the paces in your prompting structure to be able to get better results.
Yeah, that's great. So let's wrap up this particular section here. Advice for marketing missions team members who want to level up their AI game. What you got, Rick?
There's a lot. Obviously, learn, and this is part of the process today. You can listen to podcasts. There's all kinds out there. I listen to AI Explored. That's a great one. Focuses in on marketing, um, and basically, you need to think about what could you do on a tool like ChatGPT to be able to save you time, to make you more effective, and just try it. You want to get to the point where you're using that framework that we just talked about. And then if you can even go to the next level, that would be developing a custom GPT and then a series of custom GPTs. And, all of that could help you further along. It's going to take time and effort. Definitely, we can help you shortcut that process through what we're able to offer, maybe through a future conference or individual coaching along the way. But you just have to jump in. Don't be scared of it. Try it out. See how it works. And don't expect it to be perfect because it has to be worked with. I was using this example with the team I was coaching the other day, is that you almost treat it like an assistant where you're having a conversation. If I'm explaining a project to a new employee, I'm going to go in depth on that. I'm not just going to say, go write a social media post and then be on their way. I have to give them that framework, that context, that direction. I have to interact with what they produce. So you're doing the same with ChatGPT.
Great. Well, let's talk about the future-proofing concept here. So seeing around the corner, when we think about how to future-proof or to increase your readiness, run through these recommendations here, Rick.
Definitely have to engage your leadership team. This needs to be a conversation. You could actually take this presentation, this webinar, and the recording and give it to your leadership team. You need to normalize its use. And I'd keep ChatGPT open on your browser and think about how you can interact with it. That becomes your daily driver. Ask it how AI can help you in the process. You could actually ask AI that question, and ChatGPT will tell you ways that it can be involved in helping you in this process. Don't settle for slop. The work slop, which basically is you get the output and you copy and paste, and that's what you use.
That's
So,
right.
yep.
Yeah.
And
And
identify.
this one,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I think this is, as I try to peek around the corner with you, I just come back to the significance of identifying your sources of truth. And for schools who have worked with us on their positioning strategy and answering these four basic questions: what we do, who we do it for, the way we do it, and why we do it. And it's things like your core expertise, where you are establishing authority. What are those core thought leadership pieces that you would point people to help you understand how you think, where your expertise is? And the who we do it for, this is your right fit family rubric and what we call the portrait of partnership. It's a really clear explanation of how we think about family assessment. And then the public facing version of that, where families can understand, like, what's this partnership look like? What can I expect from the school, and what do you expect from us? The way we do it, that's your proven process, your educational model. If you want to see one of these in action, I encourage you to check out Oak Brook Prep in Spartanburg, South Carolina. The Oak Brook Way is a good example of that. And then why we do it: mission, vision, and core values. Why do we exist? Where we're going? How do we behave along the way? These are examples of sources of truth. Your policy, your student handbook, job profiles. You have sources of truth throughout your organization. And thinking ahead about, do we have multiple versions around this that are just publicly available? Is there any chance that AI could get mixed up? And I remember when we first did this, we had a high school principal, or in one of my workshops, we had a high school principal that looked for his school on ChatGPT and said, oh my goodness, this is reporting pre-pandemic numbers. Where's it coming from? Wikipedia. I didn't even know we had a Wikipedia page. And of course, Rick and I would also advocate your healthy enrollment marketing plan is a source of truth, your marketing and enrollment plan. So looking ahead here, what advice do you have for marketing admissions team members who want to level up their AI game, Rick? And what do you think as we wrap this up here?
Honestly, it's everything I just shared earlier. You have to jump in, explore, try it, learn, experiment, see what you can get, use that framework, and you just gotta have to invest some time and energy into it.
No, that's good. That leads me to the 5 dynamics of AI adoption. Oops, sorry about that. 5 dynamics of AI adoption. So where do you go? How do you systematically implement this? And the first, I think, is just cultivating that growth mindset. This is the tenacity that it takes to learn anything, particularly with AI, exploring how AI can impact familiar workflows, things that you already do. Second, it's going to take time. It's going to take time. You're going to have to create space to explore how AI can impact those familiar workflows. Investing in purpose-built AI platforms and applications. You're going to have a suite of AI tools, not just one that can do everything. Your team, curating and leveraging resources, expertise, and collaboration. This needs to be a team conversation. You don't need to be flying solo on this. It's a team effort. And then finally, training, curating, leveraging resources, expertise, and collaboration. We had a couple questions come in around resources. A couple that I use on the regular, the AI Daily Brief is a quick listen daily. Another is the Artificial Intelligence Show that comes out once a week. That's a bit of a longer form, but those are 2 resources that I use pretty regularly. And Rick, I know that you mentioned one as well. Could you share that one with us again?
Yeah, AI Explored, and it's by the same group that produced that survey results that we saw earlier by Social Media Examiner. So highly recommend that.
And then someone else wanted to know the name of that device. That's Plaud, Plaud, correct?
Correct. Yep, Plaud.
All right, cool. All right, which you can get on Amazon. And of course, we want to be resources. Here's how we can help. And Rick, thanks for generating this Enrollment Marketing Geeks little our figurines, our action figures here.
And that's something we did with AI.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell us about the AI Catalyst program.
So this is a new program that I'm piloting right now with a couple schools where I'm actually providing one-on-one coaching with how to use ChatGPT, how to do what we talked about today, how to use a prompting framework, how to develop custom GPTs, how to make it your assistant in your world. So the program's not ready to roll out because I'm piloting it. So if you're interested, you want to join an interest list and let me know that you would consider this in the future when I'm ready to roll it out. Click on that QR code. There's a form that gives a lot of different options for how I could help you. Obviously, if I can help you in other ways, I'm glad to, but AI Catalyst program would be an opportunity to be involved in providing that coaching for you to take you to the next level.
Great. From Tassel, a couple ways we can help. First, Tassel AI Convert, that's implementing Hulda on your website. This is all about converting more traffic that's coming to your website into actual inquiries and using AI to do that. Tassel AI SEO, this is an engagement with Tassel where we are helping you optimize your site and AI platform. So boost visibility, accuracy on AI platforms, major search engines. 2 ways we could help. If you're interested in seeing a demo of Hulda, you can connect with Micah Fox on our team by following that QR code. And perhaps you're just wondering, where do we stand? How are we doing right now with AI? What are our gaps? What are our opportunities? It may be in your best interest to do our AI readiness audit. This assessment looks at 6 areas of your AI application. You can follow that QR code to learn more. So Rick, this has been an action-packed hour. We've got a handful of questions that we will follow up with each of you individually on that asked a question. Thank you for that. Rick, any closing thoughts as we bring this, as we land the plane here?
We'd love to hear from you how you're using AI in your world. So if you have real life examples, that could be a future show and tell show. or
Yeah.
something we might profile in our AI conference down the road. So let us know. We're an open book. We want to help you, and we can learn from one another. And if there's ways that we can help you advance in your role in your schools, by all means, reach out. Thanks, Andy. This has been a wonderful webinar experience today.
Yeah, thank you, Rick. Good to be with you. And folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope to see you again soon.